Hello and welcome back to No, It's Crochet. My name is Nicole Bandis and occasionally you will see an appearance from Farah Froggett. Farah, say hello. So today we are catching up. We did not do an episode last Thursday. The week vibe, I guess the last couple of weeks, it's kind of like a weatherman's worst nightmare, right? You know, you have the storms and you have the lightning, and then all of a sudden the sun is out and you have this great blue sky, and then more storms and more blue skies, and the weatherman's just like, I don't know what the hell to tell you is going on. That's kind of the way the last couple of weeks have been for me. So, each week is a new opportunity, and here we go. What am I wearing? Let's start there. So this is the Summer City bucket hat, and the designer is, let me check my notes. Kathy Olivares. So you can get that. It is a paid pattern, and it uses the Lion Brand Rewind, or at least that's what I used. I think she used a different yarn, but I used the Lion Brand Rewind. I love this bucket hat. I've actually made it 2 or 3 times now, and I've got it in a couple of different colors, and I just think it is a great pattern, and I just love it. So, and I think I look pretty good in it, if I do say so myself, which I did. Yes, thank you. See, she agrees. So the first whip that we last talked about is the Daphne Henley tank, and I had to get some more yarn. So I started working on it again once I got the dark gray to kind of do the trim, and everything was going along great. I was doing my measurements, and then I realized that this is way too big. It is just ginormous on me, and yeah, I've gained some weight, girlfriend, but it's still way too big. So I'm gonna end up having to do some counting and frog this and figure out how to fix it, whether I need to go all the way back and do a different size or what I need to do. But I'm not motivated to do that right now because I have so many other things that I want to do during the holiday season, which we're coming into, that I'm just gonna put this in hibernation. My mother-in-law calls it timeout, and that is rather appropriate right now because she is in timeout for not being the right size. So I'll put her in timeout probably until January, when I can kind of get back to looking at something that isn't specifically seasonal. So she's in timeout. Next up is the Granny Square blanket. I'm still at the same place on that. Over 2 weeks, I have not gotten anything else done on that. I probably will not get anything else done on that, so I'm going to put her in hibernation as well for now. That way we're not doing updates on something that just isn't getting done. And then maybe one day we'll do hey, it's time to pull out all our hibernating projects and get them caught up. That will probably be a January project. Next up are my Christmas elf hats. Now, if you recall, I am doing 4 of these for the littles in the family, and I have finished the first one minus the ears. Now, these are going to have ears, elf ears, and they're going to be so cute. So I just make the ears and then attach them, and I think I'm going to do all the hats first and then the ears, and then do all the attaching and weaving in of all the ends and that kind of thing. But I've finished the first one and started the second one. So this one I do have to kind of just check back on the pattern because every other row is in an increase, and I don't have the increase pattern memorized at this point in my head. I know I probably should, but I always like to just kind of check to make sure to say, okay, it's 6 and then a double, and then 6, and then an increase, and then 6 and an increase. And I'm like, I just don't have that memorized. So that's not a completely mindless project, but it is a fairly mindless. Yes, thank you. And that is a project by Make and Do Crew, Jess Compum, and I purchased a bunch of Lion Brand basic yarn before Joanne went out of business, including the skin tones, which are supposed to be skin tone colors. So this is the color that I got for the ears, and I just got enough for all of the hats. How smart. I was thinking ahead on that one. Now I did have, since it's been a couple of weeks, I did have 2 finished objects, and let's talk about those. The first one is that I received a commission to do another one of the Clio fedoras. And as a reminder, this hat right here is the Clio fedora. Now these are done again in the Lion Brand Rewind, the same as this hat was done. And it uses a wire to have a firmer brim so that the brim is not totally floppy. And I've done, I think, 5 of these at this point in time. I've sold 4 of them, so I sell most of them. And I did receive a commission, so I did that, and I finished it up all within the last 2 weeks. And I do a custom color band on each of them, so if you're interested, I'll do a little tutorial on how I do that hat band for each of the different, because I just use the same pattern, and it's actually technically a Tunisian crochet, but you can do it with a regular crochet hook, so that's all good. And then I just use scrap yarn for them, so I can make them in all kinds of different colors, and I think they look great and give it a little pizzazz. And because these are mine, I can actually switch out the band and make it in different colors. How fun is that, right? Okay, the other thing that I started and finished all within the last week is this, which, let me bring her up here. I'm gonna have to move over. Maybe I will put her, yeah. Okay, we switch sides. So this is my newest creation, and I was inspired because crew necks and I have a love-hate relationship. No, we don't. We have a hate-hate relationship. The only thing I like about crew necks is because my husband and I do travels all over the country, and we're always picking up souvenir tops like this one right here from the Outer Banks, which has a really cool Outer Banks picture on the back. Can you see that? Maybe? Yeah. Anyway, but so many of them are crew necks. Now this crew neck is a little bit looser, so it's not quite as around my neck, but many of them are really, really tight. And in the past, I've generally chosen not to get those, no matter how much I loved the design on the shirt. There is one that I loved so much that I purchased it, and then I just sort of cut it and then fused it, but it kind of looks tacky. I'm not a big fan of that, so I had to come up with a different alternative. And because I do a lot of the upcycling with the denim jackets, I was like, let me see what I can do with the shirts. So this is what I came up with. And this, oh my gosh, I am so thrilled with this. Now let me tell you, this is a first iteration. it's not perfect. There are several things that I want to do different on this. For example, you can kind of see here that the sleeve is a bit puckery. And I think that's because I used a worsted weight yarn on a fairly thin-ish t-shirt. So I think I need to go down in the weight. But I also think that I need to do something because naturally shirts have an angle right here. And on this one, I did not do an angle, so I think I have to do something to kind of add in a little bit of a bend right there that's sort of almost a curve. Maybe, you know, if you do a granny square, you do a couple extra stitches just to have it curve right there. So I might need to do something like that. And then I think I need to do something around here just to kind of finish it off and give it a little bit cleaner overall look. Because if you can kind of see, it doesn't look quite complete there. Now, that's just things that I notice. The average person, when I'm walking around wearing this, is not going to notice those things. So it's more of a nitpicky thing on my own end. But if I do these on a regular basis, I want to have something that is a little cleaner, a little more refined. So this is a prototype that I am completely happy wearing. And in fact, I did wear it out to my crochet group on Monday a week ago. So, and they loved it. So I think I'm really excited about this, and I'm excited about where it's going to go. And if you're interested, once I come up with sort of the final concept, let me know and I'll give you a tutorial of that. Just let me know in the comments. So that's the other thing I finished this week. And I have plans to start another one really soon. But I have some things on order from Amazon that are going to make that a little bit easier for me. All right. Hey, let's switch places. Switch back. Now let's talk about my new projects, things that I have started in the last 2 weeks that I have not yet finished. There's only one, but it's a really important one for me. I got to show you the yarn first. I have had this yarn in my stash since my mother-in-law gifted me a bunch of yarn that she was not going to be using almost at the very beginning of my crochet journey, which was 2.5 years ago. So I've probably had this in my stash for 2 years, and from the moment that I received it, I knew I wanted to make a Christmas top with it, but I didn't know what to make. I didn't have the inspiration. It wasn't quite enough for a full big sweater. And yet I needed to kind of consider, well, I don't want a tank top. I don't necessarily want a t-shirt. So what am I going to make with it? I have 10 skeins. And just to show you, she had actually done a knit swatch with this. Now, obviously, I don't knit, but this is what the knit swatch looked like. Now, this is showing up a little bit more red on camera. There are some tiny little specks. Well, no, they're not tiny. They're actually, it's kind of an interesting texture, and I'm going to kind of get in close here. There are darker and lighter tones of red in there. It almost looks a little bit like a gray, but I think it's more of like a maroon red, and it just gives it some texture overall. That's the kind of the word I like to use when it's all sort of a similar color, but it's not completely the same color. So that's my word. I use it that way. If you like it, great. Anyway, so the idea, the pattern that I found, and I looked and looked and looked for a long time, well, off and on for a couple of years, and I finally found a pattern this season that I'm hoping is going to work out. It is a free pattern from Yarnspirations, and I think it was made by Bernat. It is called the Crochet Lacy Top. So it doesn't even have a fancy name. And here's a picture of it. So I'm thinking if I do these granny squares in the red and then stitch them together, then I can just do a tank top underneath. And because I live in Arizona, there's a good chance that it's not going to be terribly cold for Christmas. Although we are going to be spending some of Christmas in North Carolina. So, you know what? Then I can just wear a longer sleeve top underneath it. So, like a long sleeve top. And this will just be a flattering layer over top. So, it'll give it something. And so I have 4 of them already blocked. And then I have, I don't know, I thought I had more than that, but there are 4 blocked, and I thought I had like 4 more that aren't blocked yet, but maybe only have 2. Anyway, I do have some that aren't blocked. So I estimate that this will take me, my goal is to do about 6 of the squares a day, and it requires about, well, it requires 65 squares and then 6 half squares. So if I do 6 squares a day, it should take me a couple of weeks, maybe 3 at the most if I take a couple of days off here and there. 3 weeks to finish this up, get it stitched up, get it blocked, all that good stuff. But I wanted to start now because I know that things happen, or I might change my mind, or I might go in a different direction. So I wanted to have it started and done with enough time that if I change my mind or need to go in a different direction, I have time to do that. So that is what I'm working on right now, in addition to those elf hats. So those 2 are kind of my main projects right now, the elf hats and the Christmas top. That's what I'm working on. So let's talk about this stash update. This is where we get to have some fun. Okay, so first of all, the stash down part. For that Cleo fedora, I used 130 grams, and I also finished up the, the t-shirt, and that only used about 50 grams. But part of the reason that it used 50 grams is because I got one sleeve done and hated it, but then I couldn't figure out how to frog it. I had tied it off too well. And so I just cut it off. I'm like, it's scrap yarn anyway. I don't care. I'm just going to throw this away and start over. So normally it would not use 50 grams, but in that case it did. So prototype, that's how it works. However, we did get some new yarn. So let's talk about that. Okay, first up is our We Crochet order. Now I had to order something from We Crochet because I needed to get that gray for the Daphne Henley tee. And now she's going into hibernation. Go figure. But anyway, so the first one that I ordered was the gloss fingering in Hawk. I think that's the color of this, as a complementary color to the robot that I already had. And so she's already been wound up because I started using it for the Daphne Henley, and now she goes in that project bag to go into timeout to be used later. Now, I also picked up, because, I mean, seriously, if you're going to get free shipping, I mean, if you're going to order, may as well get free shipping. So, of course, you got to order more than just the one thing you need. Otherwise, it becomes obscenely expensive. So I ordered some more stuff. And I am currently in a love relationship with all things linen. I mean, I've only really worked with it on one project, but I fell so madly, deeply in love with it that now I want to buy all things linen. So I picked up some of these Lindy chains. Oh, I got 3 of them. In the colorway, this is Holly Berry. And I actually do have a project in mind that I want to use this for. Now this is a fingering weight yarn, and it's a very, very pretty color. I'm really excited to kind of see how this works up and see where it goes. So that was my first sort of fun new purchase. Now I also purchased a cotton again because I'm really curious about this cotton linen especially, having that sort of kind of combination. Now this is a 70% Tangus cotton and a 30% linen. And from my research, Tangus is almost as good as Pima cotton, but maybe just a step down. It's not quite as long chain, long fiber, long something that Pima is. So it's not as soft as a Pima cotton would be, but it's definitely softer than your standard kind of cottons. And because this has the linen in it, this is what I was really excited. I know a lot of people use this cotton. And this is in the colorway Lilac. So I will do a swatch Saturday with this because I really want to see how it feels as I start using it, and maybe even do something bigger to just kind of play with it and test it. And maybe I'll do, if you're interested, let me know, and I'll do sort of a comparison and use a bunch of different linen blends and see how they all work up and how they do. And along that same vein, I picked up this Dilly Dally, which I believe is a brand new item for Knit Pricks We Crochet. This is in the colorway Emerald. Now, it is not a real vibrant green, so I have a hard time calling it a jewel tone because it is a dull. It doesn't have that luster that maybe like a mercerized cotton might have. It is a very dull emerald green. And that's okay if that's what you need. I just want to kind of make that point. This is a Pima cotton, 70% Pima cotton, 20% bamboo, and 10% hemp. So like I said, I started seeing this in June or July on the website. So I believe the Dilly Dally is a brand new line from Knit Picks We Crochet. And then I also picked up, let me move that, 7 skeins of the Kobu. Now I know a lot of you have already used Kobu. I have not. I've used the Trubu. Not really a big fan of that, and I wanted to try Kobu as a comparison. Now the Kobu is 51% cotton and 49% rayon from bamboo. And I picked up 7 of these because I have a plan to do a swimsuit cover-up, and I wanted to have kind of a neutral color, so this is beige for the cover-up. So no matter what color bathing suit I wore, this would work for that. So this probably won't get started until January-ish, the new year. Let's put it that way, because clearly I have no need for a cover-up this time of year. But I figured I was buying that stuff, I may as well get it now. So that is another one of those, just, you know, it's a tried and true by a lot of people, so I kind of want to see how I like it and see if it becomes a regular in my staple. All right, that is my We Crochet order, and I got 13, was it 13? No, it was 1,000 grams with all of those things that I just ordered. But I'm not done because I have another 300 grams to show you. Where'd that come from? Well, there was a brand new yarn store, local yarn store that just opened up about 35 minutes from my house, and I had to go visit. And if I go visit a yarn store, I can't walk out empty-handed, so I picked up a few things. Let's talk about them. Now, a couple of these are just really, I don't want to call them basic, but they had a very specific purpose, and so they aren't the flashiest in my opinion. The first one is this Malabrigo Arroyo in the colorway Choco. Now this is a beautiful brownish tones, and there's a little hint to purple in there, but just a tiny little hint. And it's a gorgeous squishy. I love Malabrigo. It is so nice to use. It is maybe one of my favorite yarns. It's definitely up there. And this I picked up to do some crochet sleeves on a denim jacket because brown is really in season right now. So I figured I'd pick up something that was in season, and dark browns are definitely that. So that was the reason I picked that up, and because I wanted a Malabrigo. I love Malabrigo. The other one I also picked up for the purpose of a denim jacket, and that is this Queensland collection, and this is a recycled from jeans. So it's dungaree paints, and I believe this might be a discontinued yarn. And the reason that a brand new yarn shop has discontinued yarn is because she actually bought out another yarn shop that was huge. And so she bought out all of the inventory from that one. And so, of course, there's going to be some of that stuff that's discontinued. And this is in blues and greens on a white base. So I thought it would look really nice with the denim jacket. And again, denim blues are really in season, on trend right now. So that's another reason that I wanted something like that. All right. Now for the fun one. Now for the one that I'm really excited about. This was completely a splurge purchase. Thank you. This is also a Malabrigo, but this is a very unique Malabrigo. I've not had this one before. This is a Cicero. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And it is a 50% silk, 25% merino, and 25% linen. So there again, there's that linen we talked about, right? That I'm loving so much. It is a DK / sport weight. So I think it's kind of, heavy sport, light DK. But this color is just so fabulous. I mean, okay, so maybe I have a thing for purple. Well, I definitely have a thing for purple. And I only got one skein, which probably is not enough to even do a tank top. So I might end up doing like a hat or something like that. But I really am excited to try this out. It is such a luscious, gorgeous yarn, and it was definitely a splurge. But even if it sits in my favorite yarn basket over here for a little while before I get inspired to do something with it, that's okay, because it's just pretty to look at. And I like pretty things. So this was $26 a skein. Now, not the most expensive that I've ever spent on a skein of yarn, but pretty close. Every other one that I spent more on was specifically as kind of a souvenir for a place that I was visiting. So it served two purposes. It wasn't just to have yarn that was that expensive, but it also served as a souvenir that could remind me of visiting that place. So this is probably the most expensive that I've ever spent on a skein of yarn that did not have a specific souvenir kind of purpose in mind. And you know what? It's okay. I'm not going to justify it. I don't need to justify it. I choose to spend my money in that way and enjoy those yarns. And then there's other times where I'm going to spend $4 on a skein of yarn. I'm okay on both ends of the spectrum. I'm totally fine. I'm equal opportunity when it comes to budget and yarn. If it works for me and it works for the project, then I'm going to use it no matter how much it costs. So, hopefully that brought you some good, fun excitement. Now let's talk about one of the other things that I recently purchased specifically for crocheting. And this was sort of a fluke. I have blocking boards for blocking my products, but they're kind of small. They're 12 by 12, your standard blocking boards. I only have 4 of them, so oftentimes if I'm blocking a sweater or something larger, I end up having to use a big piece of cardboard and pinning it down. That's not ideal, but I mean, it works in a pinch. And my husband and I went shopping recently. He had to pick up some stuff at Harbor Freight on our way home from dinner. And walking through the checkout, I happened to see something that I'm like, I wonder, and I couldn't resist. So let me show you what I got. They're a little big. So I might have to move back here. Yeah, okay. Okay, are you ready? Voila! Yes. Okay, these are foam mats. They're meant for the floor, but they're 25 by 25 inches. That means they're huge. Now, this is like 4 of my foam blocking mats in one, practically. So, I mean, I'm not a math person, so I can't really do that math. But if those are 12 by 12, yeah, I think so. One of these is the size of the 4 that I already have. And you get 4 of them. And they were $10, $9.99 at Harbor Freight. You can't beat that. I looked online. There is nowhere that you can compare that to. Now, I know what you're going to say, but they don't have lines. The blocking mats that you spend $40, they have lines. Well, look what I'm doing. I'm not done yet because my Sharpie keeps dying, but I'm adding my own lines. It's not that hard. It's just a little time consuming, and I have to keep giving my Sharpie breaks, but it works, right? So it's going to have 1 inch by 1 inch lines all over the entire block. And I started with the silver, whoops, over here. But my silver is definitely dying, so I had to switch to the black. I didn't think the black was going to work, but it works just fine. So that's just totally a random thing that I happened to find at Harbor Freight. I actually did go, my husband's like, well, do you want to just wait in the car? And I'm like, no, I'll run inside. I don't, you never know what you might be able to find that, while it's meant for one purpose, completely serves another purpose. Like my project bag that I take on the go with me. It's a garden bag that I picked up at the Dollar Tree for $5. And it's got all the pockets in it. It's got a big roomy center area. So it's perfect for a project bag when I want to take multiple projects because I'm not sure what I'm going to work on. So you just never know. Look outside of the crafting world to maybe find something that's going to totally meet your needs, and often at a significantly lower price than what you would pay for it if you bought it in the crafting world. Just going to say that. I think it's brilliant. But then again, Yes. Okay, so what's coming up? What's on deck? My Darn Good Yarn subscription box is supposed to be arriving here pretty soon, and I also have some more goodies from Amazon coming. So I will save those. Or, well, I probably won't save them because I actually want to dive into them. The Darn Good Yarn box I will, but the goodies I need those for my next project, and so I'm going to open them up and get using them, but then I'll share those with you next week on the video. And yeah, so that's what I've got for today. I'd love to hear your comments, your quips, your quotes, your queries, all the good stuff in the comments below. And hey, Farah, frog us out of here.